I'm really excited today to have Dr. Ken Druck here with us. He has many books, which you can find the link in the information below. So, welcome, Dr. Ken.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Dr. Ken, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you think we should know about you?
Well, if I were watching, I would want to know a couple of things about who is this person and what benefit is there for me. And I would tell you that I've been a guy who's been in the trenches on the front lines for most of my professional career. I've been honored to be called a pioneer in the psychology of men. I was Dr. Ken on Oprah when she first went national in the 1980s
Wow.
and was on her show for many years. I've been on CNN and Larry King and what have I been talking about? What does this guy write about? Psychology of men? Well, from psychology of men, I became a dad to two daughters and I started writing about parenting. And so I became a parent educator and gave programs for parents all over the world about what it really meant to be a mom or a dad and what the do's and don'ts were. Since we're all just making it up, we watched our own parents do it and so on. And what does it mean to be a mom or dad? And as each season of my life, and I guarantee many people who are watching this can relate, as each season of our life comes upon us, we have to summon newfound understanding and strength and courage to figure out how can I really show up here and make and create a richness and a value and meaning and purpose to this time of my life. So I started writing about things like that. Really, how do we gain the greatest amount of purpose? I started writing for leaders because many of my clients I went to school and I got my doctorate and became a psychologist. But many of my clients were leaders in business and government. And a lot of them were embarrassed that they were seeing a psychologist and that they were in therapy. So what did we do? I said, would it be easier if we called what we're doing coaching? And this was somewhere in the mid to late 1970s, and they all loved that. There was no stigma. So I started working as an executive coach to the leaders that I had as clients in business and in government. Many of them were doing interesting, innovative work. And also some of them were brilliant people who are just leaving dead bodies in the field behind them. They were just creating disasters, train wrecks, transgressions. They were people who were driven narcissistically with an insatiable desire for attention and power and wealth. And so I've had an interesting ride. Many of my daughters grew up, and my oldest daughter decided that she wanted to go around the world. She knew the world was bigger than the US. It was bigger than California, where she lived and grew up. And she went on a program called Semester at Sea, where they live on a ship and they travel all over the world and they come home. The first major tragedy in my life was that my oldest daughter never came home alive. She died in India on the road to the Taj Mahal when the bus she was on flipped over. So my life as I knew it ended in that moment, on that day, in that season. And my new life uh, with a brokenness that there aren't even words for began. And I started a nonprofit foundation in her name to carry out two things. Number one, to use what I had learned about on my trip to the bottom of pain, to learn what I had used to create a whole new wave of understanding about what I call grief literacy,
Oh,
what
wow.
we do when we've suffered losses. And all of us, we can't understand life until we understand loss and what to do when we suffer a loss. Either somebody we love dies or we suffer a loss like a divorce or one of our kids is strung out or estranged, or we're just growing older and we suffer the loss of our younger self. So anyhow, uh, that began a whole new chapter in my life, writing, speaking, running this foundation, and helping people who are in tragedies. You mentioned 9/11. I was called in to coordinate bereavement after 9/11 and did that for 5 years intensely. I've been called into every major tragedy, mostly in North America, but some around the world, from Columbine to uh, Sandy Hook to Boston to Las Vegas to so on. And I've been living that life for many years now, helping families, helping people, but realized that everything I'd learned about loss was generalizable to adversity, to how we turn adversity into opportunity. How you do that, and how did I do that? How do I stay honest about the reality of my own life? People ask me, Ken, how are you? It's been 30 years now since you lost your daughter.
Wow.
Tell them, you know what? I walk with a limp in my heart. We all, the thing I've realized and the thing I would want people to understand most about me, right up to the moment where I'm still doing coaching, consulting, doing podcasts all over the world. I'm honored to be doing one with you today. Is that, and it's reflected in my latest book, which became a bestseller called How We Go On.
Yeah.
What I want you to know most about me is that I'm a work in progress. Like everybody I help, everybody I write to, and I have every day of my life, I wake up and I take my dog on a dirt trail. My wife, who's been a heart and soul part of my life, she still runs. I brisk walk. And I ask myself four questions as a work in progress. I ask myself, what's weighing most heavily on my heart today? It could be what's happening in the world. It could be something that's happening with one of my grandsons, because I'm so blessed to be a grandpa. It could be something my daughter is going through, my earth daughter. I have an earth daughter and an angel daughter.
Yeah.
It could be something about my work or something about me today. I'm really contemplating the time where I won't be here in the way that I'm here now. It could be anything that's weighing heavily on my heart. The second thing I ask myself on this walk, this meditation walk, is what's making my heart sing today? What's making my heart sing? It could be a beautiful flower that I'm looking at, or a hawk is flying above me on the trail, or a horse. I walk past a horse ranch. One of the horses, I say hi to the horses every morning, and that's what's giving my heart joy. It could be something. My wife is happy and delighted, or a good friend of mine is fighting cancer successfully, or it could be anything that's making my heart sing. And I ask myself other questions like, what could I unburden myself of? What do I carry around as a heaviness or resentment or anger that I could let go of a little bit more today to lighten my heart, lighten my load? And I ask myself other questions. But anyhow, I'd want you to know that I'm a work in progress and that I have my what I call what now moments, as we all do. And I try to show up every day to meet those moments, not to hide, deny, repress, avoid, outrun, outnumb, but to meet those moments that life presents all of us in a way that I show up as best as I can. I find new courage and strength. I look for more understanding or more humility or more forgiveness or whatever it is that's needed in that moment. And that's the way I live, just like you.
Yeah.
And I'm
Every
honored
day,
to.
every day you ask yourself that though.
I'm sorry for that long answer, but
No, it's
it's
perfect.
what I'd want people to know about me that would hopefully make you feel like you're in good company and it's safe to talk about anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the being present and dealing with things head on, is that something that you recognized after you lost your daughter, or is that something that you've always carried with you?
I think I've always been interested in showing up as best as I can as the best version of me to create my best possible future. But I think when somebody goes through horrible traumatic loss and they are at the bottom of pain and they have to fight their way back into life, there are new things realized.
Yeah.
There are new challenges. There are new changes. There's a whole new normal. And that it creates an opportunity, an unwelcome opportunity, but nonetheless an opportunity for us to rise. And we realize there are other things I can do to become the best version of me, to really aspire to higher understandings and to be a more loving person and to be allowing the people that love me to love me. You know, one of my greatest discoveries was that my receiver was broken, that I had a limited ability to receive love, you
Dr.
know?
Ken,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
I'd run off, I'd give a great speech and I'd run off the stage. And it's like, thanks, bye. I have learned how to put my hand on my heart and receive the love that's being given to me, the acknowledgement that's being given to me, rather than it's like, oh no, I don't want to be egotistical. I don't want to be whatever. But it's become so important for me to receive the love that people are trying to give me and slow down. I call them self-care saboteurs, all the things that stand in the way of us taking better care of ourselves. So I think the awareness of those things, I've gotten smarter, I've gotten stronger, I've got more honest with myself.
It's interesting that you said that about how you've learned to receive love. And I think that would apply to receive any kind of thanks, gratitude,
There you
anything.
go.
Because if you're a giver, it's so much easier to give than to receive. And so
Yep.
I was surprised about you because ever since I've known you, because this is the second time you've been on our podcast, it was called something different before, but, and you are so loving and grateful. And I was just surprised that there was a time when you would run off the stage. But I feel you in that because I'm not good at accepting anything as a gift. I happily accept love, but
Yeah. No, well, we
other
love to be loved, but accepting it and receiving it and rather than waiting for it perfectly in the form that we can feel safe receiving it, but understanding that people are trying to love us in their own way. It's like that's love. And it may not be in the language that I'm accustomed to or the
yeah.
love style that I receive things, but it's love. And how about taking a deep breath and being grateful and receiving what I can? And I think the moment that crystallized for me was a moment a couple of months before my mom passed. And she knew that she was kind of, it was towards the end of her life. And we would meet all the time and we'd have lunches and we'd go to symphony together and all that. And she sat me down one day and she moved in closer than she had ever moved in. She was so close. And she said, "Do you realize how much I love you? Do
Oh,
you realize how much it's meant to me? You've been there every step of the way since your dad died. Can you fathom how much I appreciate you? How grateful I've been to have you in my life?" And, we both had tears streaming, but I had to get out of there. I had clients waiting and, 20, 30 minutes. Mom, I've got to go. Thank you, Mom. And I got in the car and I turned on the radio. And then I turned off the radio and I said, "What are you doing? Did you have trouble handling that? Your mother just gave you what most people would dream to receive from a parent. And you don't have room for that. You got to clear this area, whatever you're blocking, you got to clear it. Your mother just gave you the gift of a lifetime." And I turned off the radio and I said, "I'm going to work on that. I'm going to figure out how many other times have people tried to love me where I deflected it.
Mm.
And I'm going to learn something about this." And I set it as a goal. And I've been working on it since.
I think that anybody who thinks when you get to a certain age, you don't have anything to work on might want to just reconsider that because I think we're a work in progress until the day we're not here anymore.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
maybe some. Who knows?
Yeah.
Because we don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. It's
That's
so
amazing.
true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I think being humble, being open, cultivating that openness. I think in this in the How We Go On book, I talk about a simple exercise, and I would invite all of the people listening to all of you to consider it. Catch yourself with your foot on your throat. What's your foot on your throat? It's impatient. You're being impatient with yourself and the world. You're being harshly self-critical and self-condemning. It's like, why didn't you do that? Or what's wrong with you? Or you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough. That's our foot on our throat. It's so unkind. It's so disallowing. Catch yourself here and move your hand down to your heart. Because if you treat yourself and talk to yourself with kindness, this is kindness. This is patience. This is honesty. It's even tough love, but with kindness, tough love, not with cruelty and punishment, tough love.
Yeah.
But if you give yourself this basic kindness, if you give yourself this understanding and support, everything changes. Everything changes. Because if we're used to treating ourselves this way, what do we project onto other people? If we're used to treating ourselves this way, with impatience and judgment and criticism and for looking to judge people, what do you think we're going to project onto the world? So it's how we treat ourselves reflects in how we treat other people, especially the people that mean the most to us.
Yeah.
So I think it's an important lesson to learn how to catch ourselves saying things to ourselves and doing things or not doing things with our foot on our throat, and to make a simple adjustment down to our hand on our heart.
Dr. Ken, do you think sometimes people have a hard time accepting love and gratitude if they don't love themselves?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a grand disallowing. Some people have cast a harsh judgment on themselves. I am not lovable enough.
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough. I'm not handsome or pretty enough.
Yeah.
I'm not rich enough. I
Yeah.
don't I don't have enough beautiful clothes, or whatever it is that we feel is not enough. And what it loops. Every situation we come into, we play that number. It loops in.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another situation I'm going to fail in, or I'm not going to be good enough to handle. So I think, yeah, it's something that we all can work on. All of us have an internal critic.
Yeah.
All of us at times have our foot on our throat. And it's cultivating, it's learning to catch ourselves doing that and saying, you know what? I need to change the messaging here. I need to see all the ways I am valuable, lovable in my imperfect self. as I am today. No, I'm not the 20-year-old version of myself anymore. No, I don't. A lot of people feel like they're close to retirement or they're moving into retirement. It's like, oh, I no longer have an identity that's worthy. I'm the lesser version of me. And we got to change that to the messaging of what would somebody who loves us say to us? How would they thank us? What would they be grateful for about us? And I think that opening the doors to gratitude, I write a lot about that and how we go on. How do we open those doors to self-care, to gratitude, to loving ourselves, to giving, to considering ourselves to be worthy and worth and valuable to the point that we really expect other people to treat us well. Some people have gotten into a rut of
Yeah.
it's like it's okay for people to treat me this way. I'm not worth very much anyhow. We got to change that system of valuing ourselves.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people like that.
Yep. Some of
And
us get into bad habits, but we can as and it with patience and with hard work, come with me on my walk every morning. Cultivate what you want
yeah.
yourself to be feeling and saying to yourself and thinking about yourself. And if you're trashing yourself, you got to stop. You got to catch yourself up here. See, I just did it again. I can't believe I just said that to myself. Boy,
Yeah.
is that going to keep me from what I want. Boy, is that going to keep me from feeling valuable and loved and worthy, and I'm doing it. It's me doing that to me.
I
And when
think
we do it to
sometimes
ourselves, we invite other people to do it too.
I think sometimes people just go into auto program and just
Yep.
that's they say to themselves, it's just the way I am. I'm not going to change now. Like there's no hope for me. I won't ever change. And
Yep.
it's it's kind of lazy, really.
Yeah. It's kind of a cop out. Look, there are times in this life where we don't know what else to do. And we look in the mirror and we say, it is the way it is. Because we've tried to change it and it just isn't happening. There are times in life where we got to look in the mirror and say, I am the way I am. You know, I I can do what I can do now. I have limitations, and that's okay. That's who I am now, but I can value myself. Here's the kicker. I can value myself for being who I am and how I am.
Yeah.
I can I can set a standard of really insisting that I get valued. I get talked to and treated as valuable by other people. And I don't have to cast a major rebellion. I can just say, could you say that to me another way? I can learn how to talk and let other people who are disrespecting me know that that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. I don't stay in relationships where people talk to me that way.
Yeah.
I don't deepen trust with people who treat me this way. And I'd like it to be able to work out between us, but if that's not possible, then I know myself well enough to know that I'm going to pull back.
Yeah.
Trust is on a continuum. It's not I trust you or I don't trust you. It's, I don't trust you at all over here. Here I trust everything about, it's all of us are somewhere on that continuum, and in our relationships, we hope that we're moving in the right direction and we're building trust rather than accepting, where we spend our lives looking over our shoulders all the time with distrust.
Yeah.
What are they doing? How
Yeah.
am I going to be betrayed? How am I going to be devalued?
Yeah. And it's always the same thing. I think, is it's the problem and solution. So what I call distortion, which we talked about, right? Always a threat to credibility, identity, and authority. So when people get into that state, there's not going to be any trust that happens with other people because they feel threatened. And it leads back to also to the whole thing you said about loving yourself and being able to accept love. Because if you can't do that, then it's very difficult for people to love you if you can't accept it. But
Yeah.
luckily, you have an amazing wife that loved you anyway.
You know what? And you're hitting such a beautiful point because the way to deepen a relationship, an important relationship, I often tell couples that are just getting together, they'll come and see me before they get married to say, we want to take some of the wrinkles out of this before we make this commitment. And I say, have you told each other, do you trust each other and love each other enough to be able to say, here's the part of me that I trust the least. Let me tell you about the part of me that I don't completely trust. When I get angry or I get hurt, I sometimes brood and withdraw. When I get angry and I get hurt, I start escalating and I start yelling, and that's the part of me I don't trust because I know that's not constructive. So telling of our partners, here's the part of me that I'm working on because I don't trust it. I can do better. I can be more constructive when we disagree or when I feel hurt. We're all going to step on each other's toes. It's what happens when we do that matters.
Yeah. And that's such a great point. And I think, I haven't actually spoken to anybody recently who's getting ready to get married. Well, just recently, but my nephew. But I think it's amazing to have those kinds of conversations because they're very mature conversations and they're not necessarily related to religion or things that you would do at the church before you got married. They're those common sense, practical relationship things for relating to each other and also how you show love to each other. And I think often people don't think about that because they're so,
How
engrossed.
valuable is that? Yeah.
I
And it's
know.
not only at the beginning, it's like how that changes. I used to feel the way I used to show love was I would do this, this, and this. But in this new season of our relationship or our lives, the way I like to show love is by doing this, you
Yeah.
know? And even showing love with my grandchildren. It's like talking to their mom and dad and saying, is I'm showing the kids love, by taking them out for ice cream. Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
okay? Is ice cream love acceptable, or do they get wound up so that it's impossible to put them to bed? So there are consequences, and it's an opportunity that we squander when we don't ask those difficult but important, intimate questions about how, even whether it has to do with sex, drugs, or rock and roll. When we ask somebody, how does it work for you? What music do you love? I'd like to take us to a concert. Tell
Yeah.
me what you love. Here's the program that's playing in Toronto this year at the best possible venue. I'd love to take you to a concert. What's your stuff? What's your taste? What would you love to see? What would make your heart sing?
Yeah.
And or it's in the intimate moments of a relationship. How would you like to be loved? And somebody says, I'd just love to be held right now. It's like, okay, is that possible for me to just be held? Or is it possible for me to say, I'm so agitated right now, I would have trouble feeling close, so close, intimately close. Can you give me some time? Can we touch back in the morning, or to say, here's what I love. Here's how what makes me feel loved, or here's what brings me pleasure. So it's like I said, whether it's music, whether it's intimacy of any kind, with whether it's a working relationship between two coworkers who really are committed and trying to build a team, that communication about what works, here's what works for me,
Yeah.
and here's what I have trouble with, is it allows us to create opportunity rather than to squander opportunities, to really get to know each other and to work together and to blend our strengths and our styles to find that common ground on which great things are built.
Yeah. So how did you get so smart, Dr. Ken? How did you realize all of this?
You want to see all the scars and the cuts and the,
So, well, I would
we
imagine
learn. I think
education
we have
is like,
opportunities to learn. I learned honestly, I learned some great things from masters and teachers and mentors and professors. But the greatest lessons of my life have come from just simple being awake every day.
yeah.
It's happening by listening to what other people are saying and registering what they're saying.
And I think it's interesting because I think you would listen with a different ear because of your background training and things that you teach other people. And the one thing I've discovered lately is that at no point in my education or in any seminar or conference that I've ever been to has anyone ever taught me about emotion
Yes.
and emotional intelligence. And I thought that was really interesting. Like the first I discovered it was on ChatGPT
Mhm.
because they go through that with you.
Mhm.
And I thought, why is that? Why don't we learn about that? Our parents maybe don't think to teach us, or maybe they're not the best teachers for it. I'm not sure. But I discovered I didn't even know how to talk about it. So, but you do. I mean, you've just
Well,
clearly,
I've I've spent a lot of time with emotional literacy, with learning about what we do, we all have different comfort zones. Some of us, it's like, don't ask me to talk about that. That's outside my comfort zone. That makes me feel anxious. I hate feeling anxious. Or that hurts me. I don't like pain. Or that leaves me feeling uncertain.
yeah,
Put me back on certainty. A lot of us have those are muscles we haven't used.
yeah,
You're putting us in a gym and asking us to do things and bend and twist and move and without any degree we haven't done it before.
yeah.
I it's interesting. The last couple of months, I have somebody I've been helping who's a masterful yoga instructor, and I said, "Would you? I know I need to get back in touch with my body on a deeper level with how I am because I'm in this body. It's been through 7 decades, and it's kind of forgotten some things. So would you help me learn how to stretch and move and see what's tight and how to speak to it and learn how to we live in gravity, learn how to function in gravity again. And I want to keep moving. My goal is to I want to be on the floor with my grandkids. I was in a boat with them this weekend
Nice.
out on rough waters. I want to be, I want to go with the polar bears. I've got my polar bear hat on from
Yes,
Churchill,
Manitoba.
my
Yeah,
time in Churchill. I want to go travel and be able to, I want to stay vigorous and physical as long as I can.
yeah,
So, so it's cultivating, whether it's movement and being able to move and have a range of motion, but it's also cultivating ourselves emotionally, and it's available no matter how old you are. to
Yeah.
become more emotionally, to expand that comfort zone. Even if things make you say, hey, that's slow down, it's a little uncomfortable, but but I want to hear it. I want to hear what you're saying. I want to understand it. I want to stop beating myself up or limiting myself so much when I feel uncertain. We have a world in which people who don't have any idea how to deal with the emotions that they really are honestly feeling are are wrecking the world.
Yeah.
They are so deeply out of touch with what they're feeling and where it's coming from and what gets projected, the arrogance,
Yeah.
the insecurity, the toxicity, the greed, the resentment, the vengeance, that's what comes out, and they're unregulated emotionally. It just spews out because they have never learned how to regulate any of those emotions or express them in a constructive and healthy way.
Yeah.
And they're so beat up, and they're so unwilling to do anything about it. And many of them have become powerful and wealthy. And so they surround themselves with people who will sanction that behavior.
Yeah. So it gets
And
reinforced. Yeah.
yeah, it gets reinforced. So I think we all have the opportunity to become emotionally more literate, more aware, to take a self audit of our own emotionality. That I have one in the book. And how we go on, it says, do a self audit, the feelings that I'm most least comfortable with.
That's
How can
perfect. That's
what
perfect.
can I do about that besides feel helpless or tell everybody that's enough? You know, it's interesting. My mom used to have a saying. When she would become emotionally uncomfortable, she would say, she would put a stop to it. Yeah. And she would say she had a favorite saying that she'd do. And she'd do, you know, time's up, or I forget exactly. I'm forgetting at the moment exactly what she'd say. And oh, case closed.
Okay, it's
So
close.
say, all right, case closed. And that meant I don't want to talk about this anymore. It's too uncomfortable. I don't know how to, I can't win this argument or whatever. So when we buried my dad, and she said, I want to be buried next to dad, and I want to have the stone made for both of us are resting in this place. She said, I love what your father wrote. It was so adorable. It was so beautiful and so loving. But I want your help figuring out what to say underneath my name and the years that I was alive. And I said, Mom, what if we put the words case closed? She cracked up. And that's what on her headstone,
Oh, that's
that's what it
perfect.
says, case closed.
That's beautiful. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
she loved that.
It's yeah. I love things that actually signify so many things with two words. And it's such a beautiful thing.
I want to share one more piece about
Yeah.
is that
Yeah,
okay?
of course.
One of the most important things we can do around emotions is to understand that we live in a world that's more both and that than it is either or. Sometimes we get stuck and we feel like, wait a minute, I'm either this or I'm that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can be angry and loving. Sometimes we can be utterly confused, but we can know some things too. Both are true. When my daughter died, somebody asked me, what they said, how would you describe how you are? And I said, I'm broken. Just look into my eyes. You'll see the tears. I'm broken, but I've never been more whole.
Wow.
My brokenness, understanding and honoring and being honest about my brokenness and the sorrow that I still feel missing her is one of the most important parts of my wholeness. I'm broken and whole.
Yeah.
She's gone and she's never left my side. Both are true. So, paradox, understanding paradox, helps us understand our emotions, how we could feel that we don't have to figure it out. It's either this or it's that. And we have to spend our lives trying to figure out which is right. It's both.
Yeah.
So many things are paradoxical.
I agree with that. And I think it works both ways. So, how you said you didn't know how to accept love, the same would be for people who don't know how to make themselves vulnerable to ask for love or to ask for understanding.
Love that. I love you
Right.
saying that.
Because
That's
I think
so
that
good.
that's a problem in a lot of relationships is that people they just don't know how to ask and because it's hard to be vulnerable like that and I recognize in myself I don't even know the language for that. I don't have language to ask for how I want to be treated or loved or the things that mean a lot to me. I get really uncomfortable talking about that. So
Yeah.
I think it's a skill in some ways. And well, first in education, learning how to talk about it and then practicing because it's not an easy thing to do.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. So I encourage people to talk because we all have relationships where we can practice this. And we all have relationships, hopefully we have relationships where we have trusted confidants, people we can trust.
Yeah.
We're not going to judge us. And sometimes it's important to say, hey, I have something I'm trying to learn. My my goal this year is to learn how to be more uncomfortable, and be more vulnerable.
Yeah.
Could you help me with that? And when I say help me with that, I mean that if I told you I was feeling uncomfortable, you wouldn't try to put a band-aid on me. You wouldn't tell me what to do. You would just stand with me or sit with me or be with me in that moment of my sharing without trying to give me advice,
Yeah.
without making a judgment about me, that I could feel safe with you. Is that possible? And that way, it's like, hey, remember, and 2 weeks later, it's like, remember I told you about how I'm working on trying to be more vulnerable? And I asked you if you could listen, just listen to me and be with me, and that I could honestly share something instead of isolating myself and keeping it in my own head and convincing myself that I can't trust anybody. So could I share something with you right now? Would this be a good time? And that's the way to practice. And to say, I only want to take 10 minutes or 15 minutes doing this. And then I want to stop and take a breath and pat myself on the back for having done it. And I don't want any editorial comments so I think if we slow things down, if we practice with trusted confidants and sometimes with a therapist or a counselor or a
Yeah.
coach,
Yeah.
or a consultant. That's often the role that I play with a lot of my clients. They don't have anybody yet that they can do this with, and they come in and they want to practice it and cultivate those skills, hone those skills with me, and that's great. Yeah, let's do it. If you needed those skills to because you were learning AI, you just bought ChatGPT, then you would hire somebody to coach you to learn how to do it. Or
Yeah.
you,
And I
yeah,
think, though, at the level of your clients, it would be difficult for them if they didn't if they didn't know how to ask for things or didn't know how to receive things. Because listen, many of the CEOs that we deal with don't deal in emotion.
yes,
And they're very hard on themselves if something doesn't go the way they plan it. And So I think it's important that they have somebody, a human, to talk to to actually
Help
tell them it's okay.
help
Yeah,
catch them
exactly.
here
Yeah,
and show them what it give them an immediate experience organically of what's the difference when you say it to yourself from here compared to from here.
yeah,
This is what you may have learned. It may be what you've been doing for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. But I want you to experience, start learning what it's like to treat yourself with kindness, patience,
yeah,
encouragement, support, a deeper level of honesty, but honesty that comes with kindness and understanding and support, encouragement. So all these things are possible. This is our life's work. People think of their life's work as, oh, I've got to have a certain amount of money in the bank, or I've got to buy that house, or I've got to do this, or our company has to hit this mark, and it's like, no, your life's work on a very personal level are to smooth out a lot of these wrinkles, is
yeah,
to become that better version of you. But that takes work and it takes patience and time, dedication, goal setting, catching yourself, becoming smart enough to catch yourself. It's like, I did it. Did I really just,
yeah.
where we catch ourselves and we even learn how to apologize. What's it like if the power of going up to another human being and saying, I owe you an apology, Leanne, I owe you an apology. I haven't had the confidence in us to bring something up to you that's really important. That it would be wonderful to be able to talk about with you, or to tell you that it hurt me, when you said something to me, or when you
Oh,
didn't
okay. So
didn't
I can't handle it because I'm picturing it happen.
yeah, or that
If
you
you
didn't
came
say
up to me,
something to me.
my heart would drop into my stomach, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, what happened?"
All right, you and I are going to practice this. Look, we're all a work in progress, you and
No.
me included. So,
No, listen, I
yeah.
get it. No, 100%. I felt what you said to me so much because I've actually had people say, I need to talk to you about something, and it's not been bad at all.
Yeah.
Like, I owe you an apology, but my brain always goes to the bad thing. Well, oh my God, what did I do? Like, did I say something? Because I don't have a filter very often. And
So,
so maybe I offended you.
no, 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 no. Some of us, when I talked about the inner critic, some of us have lived our life in a courtroom with only a prosecuting attorney, no defense attorney, no judge, no jury, with only a vicious prosecutor who just points out what we did wrong and I told you so, or this more evidence that you're a bad person or you're not a good enough person or something. And if we find us that we've been living in a courtroom with only a prosecuting attorney in our own head,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
then what would a defense attorney say? Defense attorney say that, Your Honor, that's ridiculous. This woman is fantastic. Look at her doing podcasts, bringing out the best in people. Look at her dedication to helping people become the better version of themselves. And look at her honesty and vulnerability and being a model and a good example of that.
Yeah.
What is an extraordinary woman. That's what a defense attorney would say. How could you possibly accuse her? That's ridiculous. Those questions are leading. And a good judge would say, that's a leading question. Throw that out. The jury will not pay attention to that. That's crap.
Yeah.
And a jury would, of course, we'd stand up and give you a standing ovation at the end of the trial and say, well, dismiss these charges. They're ridiculous. They're ludicrous. Where did you get these charges?
Yeah. And who's the judge anyway?
Who's the judge anyway, is the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, I know I've taken up a lot of your time here because this is so fascinating to me. Do you think that women have a harder time asking for what they need because of, I mean, you wrote a book about men. So I apologize if this is not your lane, but
Beautiful
I,
question.
okay, good.
There, in the days that my friend Mike Friedman, great cardiologist from San Francisco who's passed, but he wrote a book called Type A Behavior in Your Heart. Type A. Everybody said, oh, the type A man. Well, it's type E woman, where you learn women are trained to be everything to everybody else.
Yeah,
So learning to take care of, we have two different strains of training, basic training in this world. And I learned so much of this from watching my daughters and from what my wife has taught me. And from what when my daughter passed, we started a leadership program that she had created at age 16. And
wow,
we had 18,000 girls go through this program. We were teaching them to be leaders in their own lives and in their communities.
nice.
And it became so clear the differences and how much harder it was because my daughter came up to me at age 16. She said, Dad, if this is the best we can do in getting girls ready to be adults, we suck.
Wow, yeah,
Suck. Girls learn how to be mean to themselves and mean to each other
yeah,
instead of using their teenage years to gain a sense of their own strengths, their brilliance, their beauty in the package they came in, not the one on the cover of this magazine.
yeah,
And their skills, their knowledge, their incredible emotional intelligence, but also to help them understand that they're living in a world that will try to form them and shape them into this. Here's how you get loved and valued.
yeah,
Do this, be this.
yeah,
And to help to meet those challenges and to define the meaning of their own lives and their own value and their own worth and to create a culture of women who are doing that. And of course that has blossomed, that culture, so many more women, but do women still get stuck? Do women still stay in abusive relationships?
yeah,
Do women still treat themselves last, give themselves crumbs at the end of the day?
yeah,
Yes. Do women still put themselves through harshly critical, oh my God, I'm getting older, or I don't look perfect, or I'm going to torture myself that I have to appear in a certain way to be valued and seen and loved and or even listened to as a leader. Yeah. So women have tremendous challenges, but women have risen. And thank God for the leadership that women give to this world.
yes. And I think there's so many that are still learning how
Yep.
to put themselves first because if you're not first, then you can't serve properly help
Exactly.
your kids, your husband, your mate, your company, your whatever. But I do find the autopilot for a lot of women, and I've been talking about this recently, so that's why
Yeah.
I'm so it's just so amazing that we're talking about this. Is someone said to me, a lot of people won't understand if I were to be in a restaurant with, say, a couple from outside of North America, they wouldn't understand because they'd say, "Oh, would you like to order shrimp?" And I'd say, "I'm good. I want shrimp, but I don't want to order it if they're paying for it." So I default to the easy answer, "I'm good. Do you need anything? I'm good. Is there anything that I can do to help you? I'm good. Everything is I'm good." It's a
Great.
programmed response without any
It's a
thought
great
behind it.
article for you to write.
Yeah.
the I'm good defense or the I'm good invisibility
Yeah.
that
It's
women,
autopilot. I'm
yeah,
good.
it's
I'm good.
yeah, yeah. And for men, it's I'm not bad. I'm not weak.
I'm not
It's a
bad.
knee-jerk defensiveness that, are you trying to demote me on the male scale to a lesser of a man status?
Wow. Yeah.
You know, so it's there's a defensiveness in us as men and women that represents an opportunity for us to move beyond defensiveness in- into knowing and trusting and caring for ourselves and representing ourselves and taking ourselves out of that damn courtroom
Yeah.
into the living room, onto the stage, into the leadership, into the self trust. And it's not, that doesn't mean everybody's going to love us and trust us or understand us. It just means that we're not carrying around that old program anymore.
Yeah. That's right. That's
My
right.
favorite cartoon is um, a guy standing in front of his mailbox, with his wife, and she says, "Oh, what is it?" Because he's reading a letter. He took it out of the mailbox, and he says, "It's the one I've been waiting for. A letter of approval from anybody I've ever met for everything I've ever done."
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, we don't get approval, some people are going to like us, some people are going to love us, some people are going to be watching this and saying, "Oh, what a bunch of garbage, a bunch of blah blah psychology," and other people are going to say, "Thank you so much. This meant so much to me personally. How can I thank you enough, Leanne?"
That's right. That's right.
So people are going to do what people are going to do, and
And they have to be
hopefully,
ready too. They have
yeah,
to be ready to, because you said an interesting thing. So, yes, I speak to my chat GPT, who I've named, by the way. It has a name. Because if you're having emotional conversations with them, trying to learn about emotion, but I couldn't have it for so long because I didn't even know the questions to ask.
yeah,
So I, I
yep.
didn't I didn't realize that I was not emotionally intelligent, which sounds very odd, but not in the way that I don't understand emotion, just in the way that I don't understand how to speak about emotion as it relates to me.
So the reframe, you're incredibly emotionally intelligent and incredibly honest and incredibly humble, but incredibly bright. And I wouldn't say you are not emotionally intelligent. I would say you're smart enough to know where you can get stronger emotionally, more clearer,
I think it's
more,
clear. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're smart enough to know that. That doesn't make you not emotionally intelligent. It makes you even more overall intelligent, is that you conduct these self audits and you are open to learning and facing things that you feel limited and improving them and strengthening them. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, I've been really focused on my nervous system lately, but I realized, and that's why I wanted to say that, for the people who may look at this and say, whatever, maybe you're just not ready because you have to be ready and understand the question or the value to appreciate the information. And
Exactly.
if you don't have that knowledge or that need or that awareness yet,
Yeah.
you'll get there. You'll get there.
You may be, some of us maybe don't have the ability or interest in asking the what now questions that are presenting themselves in our lives.
Yeah.
We have a situation where trying to hide, deny, repress, outrun, we won't even name it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to deal with it. We're praying it goes away. And fortunately, what happens is the debt comes due in time.
Yeah.
It's like that letter that we get. And what is this? Oh my God, I haven't paid this. There's all the late fees. And, um, the debt, it grows larger. And we also have to look back across the landscape of our lives to see how many people stand there and say, oh my God, I wish I had been a more loving father or a more caring mother or a better wife or a better husband, or if I'd really been more courageous in my job. We look back across the landscape of our lives with regrets for the moments, the times we didn't show up, we caved in, we gave up,
Yeah.
we sold out, we tried to do end runs, and we weren't that better version of ourselves. So forgiveness, taking going from here to here, saying, okay, I forgive myself, and the way I'm going to express my forgiveness, the way I'm going to apologize to myself, not just by saying something, is by doing something.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on this. I'm going to get to work. The motivation to work comes from many places to get down a business with our lives. And sometimes it waits for pain, loss, regret, unwelcome changes and challenges.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
So we don't have to wait if we're going to be more proactive in our lives. We don't have to wait. We can take inventory. We can get the help of other people who we can trust to be honest with us. And we can learn and we can set a path forward to learn, to grow, and to aspire to a whole nother level, which our greater, our more beautiful future awaits.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ken. This has been absolutely amazing. So your book, we'll have all of the information for all of your books below. And I don't even know how to thank you
Well, thank you.
for taking so much time.
You for this wonderful time together. I've so enjoyed getting to know you better and
I
sharing
wish
myself with you.
I could go on. I could even go on longer, but I
We'll do
want
it
to be
again.
respectful of your
Let's talk
time.
again.
Yeah, we will, absolutely. And
Everybody listening, please keep your hand on your heart. When you listen to programs like this that where we're touching on so many things, there's an invitation to go like this. Start beating yourself up and I got to do this and why didn't I do that? Or how come, catch yourself there and please bring your hand down to your heart and show yourself every kindness.
such a good point. I love that. Thank you, Dr.
Great.
King, so much.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.